Lions. So huge game for the Lions this week. We got the Steelers coming to town in a must-win game where with 3 games left, the Lions have to win all 3 of their games remaining. Most likely going to have to win out, and we'll need outside help to have a chance at possibly making the playoffs. So let's take a look at the matchup against the Steelers and see how the Lions fare coming into this game. So, of course, for the point spread line, the line has Detroit currently favored in this game by 7 points. So, Detroit are a heavy touchdown favor against the Steelers, which is an interesting call, to say the least. Pittsburgh, they lead the all-time series over Detroit 17-14-2. However, the last time the Lions and Steelers met, that was in 2021, where the game ended in a tie. And let's be clear, a tie is a damn loss. Nobody won the game. Don't let Packer fans tell you otherwise and delude you with their bullshit. A tie is a loss, no matter how you slice it or dice it. It may not look like it on the stat sheet, but it definitely feels like it too, since nobody won the game and it's just unfinished business. So in this matchup between the Lions and the Steelers, there must be a winner. And of course, the Steelers have had Detroit's number since the 60s, because most of Detroit's wins in this rivalry came before 1966. Like, since 1966, the Steelers have dominated the rivalry. Like, since the 60s, Detroit has only beaten the Steelers twice. And Pittsburgh's had Detroit's number for quite a bit. Like, the last time the Lions beat the Steelers was all the way back on Thanksgiving in 1998. So, yeah, it's been a hot minute since the Lions last beat the Steelers, a team Detroit has had issues against in the past. And, of course, this game is potentially the Lions' last home game of the season, or maybe the regular season, because Detroit still has an outside shot at the NFC North, but they're going to need a lot of help to possibly pull that one off. Pittsburgh this year, they're 3-3 on the road. This year, Detroit is 5-2 at home. So now let's get into the key players. So, of course, looking at the key players for the Steelers on offense, of course, their quarterback, it's somebody that Detroit Lions fans know very well, because it is the bane of a lot of Lions fans' existence from his days in Green Bay. And that, of course, is Aaron Rodgers. I fucking hate that piece of crap. So don't even get me started there. Of course, for running backs, they got Caleb Johnson and Jaylen Warren to handle that load. And in receiving core, you got names like DK Metcalf, obviously being the main headliner. And you got names like Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson, and Pat Freiermuth. On the defensive side of the ball, the D-line is anchored, of course, by Cameron Hayward. And, of course, Deron Harmon, he's questionable for this game with a knee injury. They got other names on that defense like Yaha Black. And also edge rusher TJ Watt. He's questionable for this game with a chest injury. I'll tell you right now, that would be a big loss if TJ Watt doesn't play Sunday. And also Nick Herbis. He's questionable for this game with a hamstring injury, but they got other names in that linebacking core like Keanu Becton, Alex Highsmith, Jack Sawyer, and Patrick Queen. The secondary is not the most talented in the world, but they got a couple good names in there like Jalen Ramsey and Joey Porter Jr. Of course, the head coach of this squad is Mike Tomlin, the most overrated coach in the NFL, which also coincides with the Steelers being the most overrated team in the NFL, not named the Dallas Cowboys. The second most. Dallas is more overrated than Pittsburgh. Mainly because the Steelers play a boring brand of football. And Tomlin's mainly overrated because he never has had a losing season in his career. Even because all the Steelers got to do is just finish 9-8, 10-7. Just be mediocre enough to not have a losing record to keep Tomlin's streak alive. Mainly because, let's be honest, the Steelers need to rebuild. But the Steelers, honestly, the last few years for the Steelers, their standard of mediocrity has just become a game of we need to keep Tomlin's streak of winning seasons alive at all costs. Also, the offensive coordinator is Arthur Smith, and the defensive coordinator is Terrell Austin. And in terms of Tomlin's, keep Tomlin's winning streak of winning seasons alive at all costs, it just means that when Tomlin's gone and they bring somebody else in, the Steelers are going to fall off hard when that streak is over. Honestly, when I look at that, keeping Tomlin's streak of winning season alive, it reminds me of when the Red Wings, Detroit Red Wings, trying to keep their playoff streak alive the last few years of that streak. It was mainly just a game of we need to keep the playoff streak alive at all costs. And you want to know what happened to the Wings with keeping that streak alive? It gave the Wings a one-way ticket straight to hell. And that's what's going to happen to Pittsburgh with them keeping Tomlin's streak of winning season alive at all costs. It's going to give Pittsburgh a one-way ticket straight to hell. In terms of Steelers, the offense, it's the 27th ranked offense in the league. They're 23rd in the pass game, 28th in the run game. And their defense is the 28th ranked defense. They're 27th against the pass, but they're 19th against the run. So, yeah, honestly, the Steelers are only where they're at right now at 8-6 is because they play in the second worst division and one of the second or third worst division in football. Well, mainly because the NFC South is worse. Just everybody in the NFC North has sucked ass this year. But yeah, Steelers are overrated. They play the most boring brand of football there is. So the keys to winning this game, just get pressure to Aaron Rodgers. You get pressure to him, he will fold like a graham cracker, win the turnover battle. Offensively, the Steelers have had issues in the past games, so try and use J-Mo and Amon-Ra and try and take advantage of some mismatches there. Maybe definitely get Gibbs and David Montgomery more involved in the run game. Like, don't abandon it like you did against the Rams. Especially with Montgomery. Like, need to get David Montgomery more involved in this, because every time Montgomery gets involved, the Lions tend to do very well. Just gonna put that out there. So, yeah, and of course, this is a must-win game. And you want more motivation to win this game? Should let you know real quick, Detroit is actually facing elimination this week. Because Detroit can be eliminated from playoff contention with a loss, and if the Green Bay versus Chicago game Saturday ends in a tie. Which, I'll be honest, there's probably a 1% chance of that happening. So, I think regardless of what happens, Detroit will be staying alive for another week, because there's no way Green Bay-Chicago ends in a damn tie. But there's one thing I'll say though. In terms of playoff clinching things, if Detroit loses this game, though, then the winner of Green Bay-Chicago Saturday clinches a playoff spot. Oh, that's the last thing I want to see is one of those two fuckwads clinching a playoff spot at our expense. So, must-win game if Detroit wants to have any chance at making the playoffs this year. Plus, every time Detroit has lost the game, they've always bounced back. They haven't lost back-to-back games since 2022. And I honestly feel like the Lions have closed in the gap between them and the Steelers. Even though the Steelers have had Detroit's number for a long time, Detroit has had a pretty solid pretty good results recently of conquering teams that have had their number and beating past demons. I think it's gonna be a high score. I think it's gonna be a defensive battle, but I think the Lions can pull this off. Honestly, the Steelers are not as good as everyone is hyping them up to be. The Steelers are massively overrated. They play a boring brand of football, and plus the Lions can do the Ravens a solid and help the Ravens catch up, depending on how the Ravens do Sunday night against New England. But every time Detroit has gotten punched in the mouth, they've always bounced back the following week. And I think this week will be no exception. I have the Lions winning this game. They just gotta win. Don't have to be pretty, just gotta win. See, I have the Lions winning this game, and I think for the first time since 1998, the Lions will finally beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in a regular season game. But yeah, let's go get this win. Let's prevent Green Bay and Chicago from clinching a playoff spot. And tell Green Bay and Chicago the only thing they're clinching this week is their clown certificates. And I think Detroit will stay alive for another week. See, I got the Lions winning. Plus the loss, the football loss state that Pittsburgh has to finish 9-8 or 10-7 just for Mike Tomlin to keep a streak of winning seasons alive at all costs. And right now, the Steelers are currently at 8-6. Sadly, a win over Pittsburgh does not guarantee Tomlin a losing season. Like all the Steelers need to do to get another winning season with Tomlin is just win one more game, and they play the Cleveland Browns next week. And then they end the year in against the Ravens, when that game against the Ravens most likely could be for the AFC North. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. Let's go get this win against Pittsburgh Saturday. Let's keep our playoff hopes alive. 3 more games left to go. Lions are most likely going to have to win all 3, and they're going to need a lot of outside help possibly to pull this off, to pull a chance at the playoffs out. But anyway, that'll wrap it up here. I'll talk to you all later, and as always, go Lions.